From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon of Afternoons LALATE with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2022 and the major economic changes coming on hand with those $60,000, $80,000, and $40,000 of checks that are now live. One of the latest details on those incredible checks and the sixth stimulus package. But first up, the Build Back Better Act, which will pass, says the President of the United States in new comments. And then SS300, major breaking details that impact the ability to swap out that COLA for inflation. Meantime, sixth stimulus is in the works because of the economic embargo of oil internationally. But as inflation swirls higher, could it bring your SS300 even higher than that? All the latest details across the board on Afternoons. Then, the rent map, the homeowners grant map. We'll be looking at the big opportunity to get those $80,000 of four stimulus checks. They're live, and they're offered nationwide. Have you gotten them? The viewership of this channel, the members have. All the latest update on them in today's recording. Then we look back to third stimulus, still paying out for renters and homeowners, and you. We'll go over how to get these incredible sums of money. Third stimulus, fourth stimulus, sixth stimulus, all paying out, all heating up, and all featured in today's afternoon's broadcast. Then the latest details of Vladimir Putin and the economic embargoes against his products that impact your wallet at home, whether it is gasoline, soybeans, corn, wheat, or potentially the banking industry. The latest details you need to know on that front as we go into a big afternoon of Afternoons LA. From the shores of Santa Monica, from the shores of the Black Sea, everything into happening domestically and internationally, which impacts your wallet, heats up today's broadcast. And all the incredible money at issue is available for you to pounce per box. We got all those details and more as we go into a big afternoon of Afternoons LA starting right now. And good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're having a beautiful day across the land. The situation unfolding dramatically with third, fourth, and sixth stimulus all at the same time. But the thing that's getting very dramatic are your checks. Yes, have you gotten those incredible checks? We're going to go over the homeowners grant, which is starting to pay out in states across the country and will pay out in every state across the land. We'll be looking at the pivot from the White House to get some gasoline routed to our partner countries, and United Emirates could be part of the equation. Or would it be Iraq? Or would it be Venezuela? And why that deal has to be hatched right now with less than 6 weeks away with a potential recession looming for 2 years. All the latest breaking details on this big afternoon's broadcast and everything happening internationally for that sixth stimulus package and also happening domestically. It's a big day, and all the incredible money starts right now. But first, let's go into the Build Back Better Act. It's the fourth stimulus recon that heats up in the House and the Senate. It's already passed the House. It's now in the Senate. And the President of the United States, in a series of new comments, says it will pass. Now, understand, later in this video, you're going to see those $80,000 of checks. They're actually law. But in this Build Back Better Act, wow, lots of checks. And tonight, in prime time, in Evenings LA's 1-hour special broadcast at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, we'll go over each of these checks individually. They amount to about $15,000 to $80,000 of checks for you, with 3 clusters and 3 add-ons. In that first cluster, hazard pay, 1 more year for my essential workers. Then $4,000 of elder care, money for the children of $3,600 for them and some care as well. $550 checks for my college students, the Pell Grant. And then money for nutrition, new car purchases, electric, $12,500. And then home repairs. That is the first of 3 clusters checks. in the Build Back Better Act, the fourth stimulus recon, which is passed in the House and will pass in the Senate, says the President of the United States. Tonight in primetime, we go over more of these incredible checks, including the first add-on, which is $25,000 for the purchase of your first home. How do you get this money? Tune in to tonight's 1 hour special broadcast of Evenings LA. That's at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. In that second cluster, we have home repairs and paid leave. Paid leave if you have to stay home due to sickness or illness. The second add-on of checks comes from Bob Casey. It is the free home health care for seniors and people on disabilities. Just a little bit less than $250 billion. Then as we look to the third cluster, checks, seniors and free internet, farmers, checks, and lots of checks for seniors. The seniors between the House and the Senate looking at a lot of different checks. First, Medicaid gap fix, then the incredible lowering the eligibility age of Medicare, then dental, vision, and then also the hearing aid checks, which is par for the course when we're talking about adding checks on the Senate side. We also have the MSC. MSC is a body of legislation that would be adding checks to the fourth stimulus recon that already has at least $15,000 to $80,000 of checks in there. MSC stands for Multiple IRS Stimulus Check. They're paid on a monthly basis to individuals at the same payout as a third stimulus check. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it, and married couple, $150,000 less. Who else would get it? Tune into Evenings LA tonight, where we go over more about these MSCs in detail. Again, that's at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, a 1 hour special broadcast. $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, and these are checks that would be added to the Build Back Better Act. That is not law yet, but later in this video, we are going to look at a big surprise, as one piece of legislation is law. And that one piece of legislation is the incredible $80,000 of stimulus checks. Yes, so this map denotes the new $80,000 of stimulus checks called the Homeowners Grant Program, but also called on this channel the fourth stimulus add-on. Unlike Build Back Better Act, which is not law yet, this is law. And unlike Build Back, which is not yet paid a penny, this has paid money. And the similarities between the two is abounds, because this is a nationwide program where every state has the money, just like a Build Back Better Act. How do you get the money? It's coming up later in today's afternoon's broadcast. Also coming up later in today's broadcast is the sixth stimulus package. When I number things 3, 4, 5, or 6, it does not mean that one goes before the other. It just differentiates them, like apples versus oranges or red versus blue. So the sixth stimulus package will be happening, says leaders of Germany, France, and the United States. This is basically a stimulus package caused by Vladimir Putin to solve economic issues domestically and internationally, like oil, wheat, soybeans, and potentially a banking industry implosion. How do you get this money and what will it look like? It's coming up later in today's video. But let's go back to Congress in the United States. They passed this week the continuing resolution. The CR passed and became law. It did not get a $2,000 stimulus check in there, but it did get local county stimulus. It's as though the viewership of this channel included the House Democrats, because House Democrats, who less than a year ago said you don't put any money in there for citizens, and pushed back for our advocacy to put a $2,000 stimulus check into the 2020 CR, which we eventually got, this time around changed and said the opposite. You know what? They said they want some money for their county citizens, and so they got it in there. There is county stimulus in the continuing resolution, which passed this week for the first time in a decade, and less than 2 years after this channel made history by getting a $600 stimulus check into the 2020 CR. Now, is this the final CR? This is where it becomes a little complicated. This is the final CR for now through September, but the President of the United States is doing his version of the CR next week. What is this? A continuing resolution stands for, a CR stands for continuing resolution to fund the federal government. Joe Biden wants some money to fund something in the federal government, and that is COVID. And he didn't get it funded this CR. So he says he's coming back with another CR this coming week. We'll get past what we'll have it in there. And can you get a $2,000 stimulus check? Very, very fluid situation. We will watch it. We don't know how much money he's going to ask for, and we don't know if it's even going to pass. This is a very strange turn of events. And it was confirmed by the president's press secretary after the CR passed this week. Now, on another front is the inflationary numbers. And the numbers surprised everyone elsewhere this week and internationally as well when they came in as predicted, but then analyst reports watched the bond rate surge dramatically. What's going on and what does this mean for your benefits if you're on SSI, SSDI, VA, RB, or SSA benefits? Joe Biden, running for president of the United States, promised to swap out COLA for inflation. Then, in his platform as president, JoeBiden.com, still published, he said he'd swap out COLA for inflation. In swapping out COLA for inflation, you get a higher benchmark. Inflation is at its highest price point of a generation. In fact, all last year, when we covered this SS200 or SS300, I told you that at the time, spring of 2021, inflation would track to its highest numbers about now. I was right. In December 2021, I had predicted 8% inflation. It came in 7.5%. Then last month, 2 months ago, I predicted the January number coming at 8%. This week, it came in at 7.9%. So right on point. What I did not predict is really the reaction to the consumer price index number released on Thursday of what happened on Friday. On Friday, the U.S. bond market traded up dramatically. What happened? The 10-year Treasury note rose 1 basis point in one day to 2.016%. The 30-year Treasury note inverted. It went the other direction. This is an inversion situation. Why did this happen? As Thanos Papavalos, founder and chief investment officer, ABP, people on Wall Street now believe that you saw that 7.5% in December, you saw that 8% on Thursday, that they believe that inflation is here to stay. In fact, that's a quote. Inflation is here to stay. So what's brand new? What's brand new is while I predicted you 8% in December, I predicted you 8% in January. And then I said, maybe Jay Powell's going to start to bring it down. Wall Street's getting a little bit skittish and thinks maybe Jay Powell may not bring it down right away or not have the tools to bring it around right away. This is good news for you. Let's go over how the analysis works. Remember, when you swap out COLA for inflation, you want to swap it out when inflation is highest. It's highest now. It was 8% December. It was 8% January. So the question is, how long will it stay at 8%? And will it go higher? It's likely not to go to 9%. It will likely stay at 8%, says the bond market with that data on Friday after the CPI number on Thursday. And here's what Jay Powell's doing. And Jay Powell, your head of the Federal Reserve, his job is to bring down inflation. How does he do it? He brings down inflation by raising interest rates at FOMC meetings, 1 per month, over the next 5 months. He has options. The first option, do a half basis point. The second option, do a quarter basis point. The third option, do multiple rate hikes per meeting. He has given us the guidance for March. It will be 1 hike, and it'll be only a quarter, the lesser of the two strengths. Then what happens in March? He says he's staying with that if that works for now. Otherwise, he'll come up a little stronger. Here's what you need to know, is that based upon the data of Thursday and Friday, Jay Powell may come in stronger in April because it may not be enough with a quarter for March. This is why you want Joe Biden to make the phone call. Now, let's make it clear. If Jay Powell comes in stronger in April, you're still fine. Because by the time he does it in April, Jay Powell, whatever he does, will not flow into the economy overnight. It takes a little bit of time. It takes about 30 days out. So you're still fine if Joe Biden swaps COLA for inflation between now and May based upon this week's breaking economic details. Now, Jay Powell has locked in, ironically, in a rare circumstance, his position and his move for March. He's not locked in his position for April. And what happened also this week on Thursday, Jay Powell's counterpart, Christine Lagarde, who is the ECB, the European Community's central bank head, said, I think inflation is a little bit worse than everyone else thinks, so I'm going to come in a little bit more aggressively. Jay Powell won't change his March position, but he certainly is watching her, and he may change it in April. We'll have more about that tonight in Evening's LA. So if Joe Biden makes the swap from COLA to inflation today, in April, in May, You're going to get that $200 more per month because you're locking in that higher 8% rate. Then if inflation tracks down to 4% later this year, you'll get another $100. That's what we call SS300. It's good news, and Joe Biden needs to make the phone call to swap out that inflation. All he does is contact the Social Security Administrator head and say, swap it from COLA to inflation. I'm not inventing this. This is actually invented by Liz Warren in her run for president, and then adopted by Joe Biden in his platform as president of the United States. In the second half of this video, we're going to be looking at the $80,000 of stimulus checks that are now live. Those $80,000 of stimulus checks are the homeowners grant program, administered by the federal government, live, paying out, happening, already part of the landscape of checks you can get on this channel. I call it a fourth stimulus add-on. What does this map mean? How does it work? And what does it mean for you? Then we'll be looking at the situation unfolding overseas for the sixth stimulus package. What do you need to know across the board going into the commercial break? You need to know that when I'm using a numbering system, it doesn't matter if the number is after the other ones. They all happen separately apart from each other. I use a numbering system to keep things separate. I can use A, B, C, but it doesn't mean you have to do A before you go to B. It doesn't mean you have to do C before you do D. Moreover, and this is very important, if you got number 3, doesn't mean you can not also get number 4. I'll tell you where you can get 3 and 4, where you can get 2 and 1, and I'll give you what 2 plus 3 adds up to. We got a lot to go over in the second half of this video. But the great news is that there's money for everyone on this channel. Renter, homeowner, SSI, SSDI, VA, employed, unemployed. We got all this incredible sums of money coming up in the second half of this video. Stay with me as Afternoons LATE's weekend edition of March 12, 2022 continues. See you back in 60 seconds.
If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE.
And the excitement continues right now as we go into the big second half of Tunes LA, direct from Santa Monica, California on a big weekend. I hope the weather is good where you are. We are looking at a map of the Middle East, and this is part of the equation when looking at sixth stimulus. We'll be going over more about that sixth stimulus package in just a second. But first, we'll be turning to those incredible checks that went live, and they're part of the fourth stimulus recon. It's a big afternoon to LA. I'm excited you're here. And first, let's start with the exciting developing details of this map. This is the fourth stimulus add-on, the homeowners grant that has checks for you nationwide, left to right, high to low, in every state of the union. Let's go over all this incredible breaking news and how it happened and what you need to do to get those checks. This channel's always been about cashing checks, not tracking checks, and my job is to find the checks. And I found these for you last Friday. Let's understand, when these checks were announced, they were not announced with any fanfare. In fact, they were not covered anywhere across the land. So every broadcast media outlet that ever said there was no checks in the fourth stimulus recon, surprise, you missed the story. And I love it. You know why I love it? Because that's more checks for you. If there's checks in the kitchen and then no one else is covering it, then there's a lot more checks from my viewers. I love it. So this is the homeowners grant, a fourth stimulus add-on, as I call it, the fourth stimulus ancillary piece of legislation. The only difference is that this is law. Build Back Better Act, not law. This is law. Before I go into it, let me make something clear to start. First, this is for homeowners, but later in this video, I have money for my renters. So I have money for all of you. All right, let's go over the details of this. Last Friday, the President of the United States announced, it's now 2 Fridays ago. 2 Fridays ago, the President of the United States announced this program. It's administered by the federal government, but run at a state level. It's a homeowners grant, and the money is for homeowners. To get the money, you just have to be within the zone of income qualification and own a home. Done. It's pretty simple, folks. If you're on SSI, SSDI, VA, RB, any type of benefits, adult dependents, anything like that, you can get it if you own a home and you're within the zone of income qualifications. Let's go over the details of the money. The income qualifications are $75,000 less, a single individual. Oh, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yes, that's third stimulus. That's Build Back Better Act. Single individual, $75,000 less, you get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, you get it. Double it. Family for quadruple it. Well, no, you can't quadruple the money. The eligibility zone is the same as third and fourth. The amount of money is not doubled or tripled, but it's deliciousness. It's $15,000 to $80,000 a household. So let me make that clear. $15,000 to $80,000 a household. So the household has 20 people in there. You don't quadruple, you don't times it times 20 people. It's $15,000 to $80,000 a household, a home, a house. There you go. Now, I've had some viewers ask really great questions. What is a house? Go and apply. Please just go and apply. If you think maybe your house doesn't qualify because it's, I don't know, it has strange siding. It's painted in a strange color. Go apply. Now, I've seen people say, what about this type of mobile home, that type of mobile home? It's very, very different. Just go apply, go to the website, and start applying. All right, so how do you get this money? You become a member. If you're a member of this channel, you got the details day one. Launched by the President of the United States in a major statement 2 Fridays ago, I immediately rolled out to the viewership of this channel. In the membership newsletter that day, membership newsletter immediately had the name of the program, the link to apply to get the money, the eligibility, the zone, and the items you can get it. Let's go over the details right now. $15,000 to $80,000, number one. Homeowners, number two. We already went over the income qualifications, number three. And then number four, it pays for items that many viewers of this channel have always wanted to get coverage for, like property taxes, like mortgage assistance, which overlaps with third stimulus, like house repairs, which overlaps with third stimulus nonprofit assistance, and other items. What are those other items? Tune into Evenings LALATE, 1 hour special broadcast in prime time at 5 o'clock tonight. We'll go over those other items that this pays for. To learn about how to apply for the application, become a member, and it's in the membership newsletter. It goes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Let's now go to the status. The status of where the program is right now is this map. The map has different colors, and they are the color wheel. The colors, what do they mean? They mean that some states have modern computers and some states have older computers. What are you talking about, Ally? Well, in the case of modern computers, the states rolled the programs out. They went live with the websites, and they're already paying out the checks, like California, Florida, and Texas. In other states, the computers are a little bit slower, so they have not built out the whole ability to receive your application and pay your application right now. So what are they doing? They're just receiving your application. Let's look at the state of Ohio. You see the state of Ohio right there? It is in red or pink. Now, some people saw that state of Ohio a few days ago and said, oh my goodness, I'm pink. That means there's no money. No, that's not what pink means. It means that they want you to get your pre-application on file, but they can't pay you yet because they don't have the computer systems ready to pay you out just yet. Again, it means they will pay you. They're just not paying you today, but they want your application on file right today. Now, let me go over the importance of this, why you have to pounce Purple Power, why you have to pounce Purple Hawk. The expression of this channel created by me in early 2021 was Pounce Purple Hawk. It means pounce before the money is gone. This is not a tree in the backyard with unlimited dollar bills on it. It will run out of funds. So you want to pounce Purple Hawk and do this right away. How do you pounce? You become a member and get that application on file. Now let's go over what this looks like. This looks like day one of this channel of April 25th, 2020, when I said there's a new program about to go live in the United States called Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. It was April 25th. It was not paying out anyone yet, but some states were receiving the applications at the time. I told viewers, apply that day. That was the very first recording of this channel. I said, apply the day, because guess what? You want to be first in line. Guess what happened? The program went live on April 28th, 3 days later, in some states like California and Missouri. And the day it went live, that April 28th, people got a direct deposit that day. They were shocked. They didn't know, had they pre-applied, that they were going to get paid the day it went live. That's how it worked. People who then heard the news from their friends, oh, you got paid on the 28th, went and applied on the 28th. Too late. Guess when they got paid? 2 months later. So it's not good. You don't want to wait until you hear news of payments. You want to go right today and apply pre-authorization. And that's in the case of Ohio. In the case of Ohio on that map, it's pink. It means they're in pre-authorization. They want you to get your application on file. And when they're ready to pay, everyone's going to get those payments on that day one that their payment system goes live. California, their payment system and the application process is live. So get these incredible sums of money. $15,000 to $80,000. This is the Build Back Better Act and on the homeowners grant. Now, later in this video, we'll be looking at the rent and homeowners assistance of third stimulus. Understand, third stimulus is still paying out. And it overlaps with what I just went over, because why? Third stimulus covers both renters and homeowners. Yes, you can get both of them. It's coming up later in this video, and we'll look at the success stories overnight. But first, let's turn to a major developing details, which is sixth stimulus. Sixth stimulus will be happening, and sixth stimulus is a new major international piece of stimulus, both on an international, a U.S., and a local jurisdictional basis, that is not caused because of COVID, but because of Vladimir Putin. When we talked about first, second, third stimulus, we were talking about stimulus packages because of COVID. Fourth stimulus because of coming out of COVID. Sixth stimulus because of Vladimir Putin. You may look at it as the oil stimulus or the recession or inflationary stimulus, but I really look at it as the Putin-caused stimulus. Why? Because that's what leaders say. And there's going to be the international version of it, the U.S. version of it, and the state version of it. Why? Because they've told us. Let's go over the details. Again, this is not pie in the sky. This is actually happening. They've actually told us this. How did this unravel and where is it coming from? First, let me tell you what it's going to look like. You're going to see another stimulus package domestically in the United States, number one. Then you're going to see a state package, every state across the union. Very different. And I'll go over that in just a second. Number three, you're going to see the international allegiance that will potentially give international stimulus for those partner countries as well. All right, let's go over why this is happening and when you would see it happening. First, I believe you'd see it happen around April. April is the key date. Why? Because it requires an international allegiance of a trifecta. That trifecta is Germany, France, and also the United States. Germany's leader is a progressive. Joe Biden is a progressive, and France's leader is a progressive. But that French leader will learn his fate politically in April. If he's reelected, the trifecta is in hold, and then we go to the finish line with the sixth stimulus package. Where did the sixth stimulus package come from? It came from a series of twists and turns in the last 14 days. Day 2 or day 3 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, Anthony Blinken started reaching out to those partner countries saying, you know what, I want to get off of Russian oil. And then a week ago, he reached out to those partner countries, said, let's all get off of Russian oil. Germany said, no, we can't do it because we're too dependent upon it. 40% of our oil comes from Germany. It comes from Russia. Then the countries like Germany and France saw that there was a moral issue more than an economic issue of getting off of Russian oil. So they said, you know what? Okay, morally, we will get off of Russian oil. And what did Germany say? We'll do it by debt spending and giving out stimulus to our citizens. How does this look? It basically looks like, yes, our citizens may have to pay more for gas, but to pay more for gas, we're going to give them money because we morally need to get off of Russian oil. We morally have to get away from that Russian oil. And the only way we do it is we raise national debt spending and then we spend money on our citizens. Germany said it, France said it, and the United States would do the same. So this is where the pivot is. Now, you may think of this as oil stimulus. I think of it more as Putin-caused stimulus, because guess what? There is more than oil that needs to provide you stimulus relief or stimulating the economy relief. It is also the other industries that are being economically impacted by Vladimir Putin. Wheat, grain, soybeans, corn. Tonight on Evenings LA, we'll go over this industry and why this disruption could send us into a recession faster than the situation for oil. What is the situation for oil? The numbers are very clear. Number one, if the oil numbers or the price of the pump nationwide stays at current levels through the month of May, we're going into recession in 2023 for 2 years. Number two, if the price of grains, wheat, and soybeans continue to surge higher, not lower, but actually higher, then we're going into recession next year as well. And number three, if we see this banking industry so exposed to the situation in the Middle East in a way that we did not anticipate the risk, we're going into recession. This would likely look like something that Joe Biden knows very well. It was day one of the Obama-Biden administration. They had to come in and save the banking industry. Would they have to do it again? I deeply fear at the time of this recording, Joe may have to do it again. Why? At the time of this recording, the Russian economy is shrinking and devaluing and losing credit status hour by hour. Day one of the Russian invasion, I told you the Russian economy is the number 10 largest in the world. It had a higher credit, had a very good credit rating. Today, Vladimir Putin is sending his economy into third world status, actually to Cuba status. No valuation is the potential horizon for his economy. Debt bond status for his bonds, and no valuation for his stocks. The problem is that U.S. banks have investments in those bonds and stocks in Russia, and that eventually they may see a valueless investment. Once they see the valueless investment, they're going to have to announce it in their corporate earnings, potentially Q2, 3, or 4 this year, saying, hi, we had a $500 million investment in Russian stock number one. We're writing it off, and it's a major loss. What does this do to our economy? It makes our economy very unstabilized because you may not bank in a major U.S. bank, but you may bank in a small bank that does business with a major U.S. bank, and all of them create a domino effect. If you remember the banking crisis of the Bush-Obama transition years, this is a major problem. And we don't know the risks of the situation at the time. So let's go back to 6 stimulus. 6 stimulus will happen. It will be done first on an international level, United States, Germany, and France. Then it will be on a nationwide level because we will have unique problems here that other countries may not have. We may have a much bigger exposure to the banking industry than Germany, France, which may be more exposed to the wheat and grain problems. Then domestically, you're going to see legislators, not just at Capitol Hill, but also at your state level, doing this as well. Why do we know this? Because they've already told us. State governors have already come forward and saying, you know what? I'm Republican, I'm Democrat. I can't have my citizens pay $5 a gallon at the pump. They can't afford it. And they can afford it for maybe a week. They can't afford it for 3 months. We're going to do something locally. And what are they going to do locally? Every state is different. If you're watching your governor, you may see what he or she has said in the last few days. That may give you an indication. Some governors have said stuff like that we're going to waive the tax on gasoline at the pump. That'll bring it down. That'll drop at $4 a gallon. There's going to be a lot of pivots to get this done. And this, again, is 6 stimulus. Now, no time to wait for 6 stimulus because you can get 3rd stimulus. Yes, that's how it works on this channel. In addition to the big 4th stimulus add-on of those $80,000 checks for homeowners, I got money for my renters and homeowners, and it's called 3rd stimulus. And this is still paying out. Oh my goodness, it's incredible, great news. So where do you get that money? Get your pen and paper ready. If you remember this channel, pull out that membership newsletter. It's also featured in there as well. Here we go. You're gonna reach out to your city hall, your city housing authority, your county hall, your county housing authority. And the keywords you're gonna say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. You do 3 things. You must reach out to all 6 places. You must get multiple applications on file. And you must do multiple rounds. The latest rounds continue to grow across the board. Let's look at the situation on those latest rounds. Viewership of this channel continue to have success stories. We've had viewers on Evenings LA come on in and say, you know what, in the last few days, I have gotten $10, $20, $30, $40,000. It's huge. I'm very excited for my viewers of this channel. Let's understand, you can get all of this and more. So you can get this third stimulus and the fourth stimulus, and you can get the overlap. Remember, the nonprofits, they do home repairs. So you can get home repairs from the nonprofits and then home repairs from those $80,000 of stimulus checks with that map. So there's a lot of overlap. Don't worry about overlap. You can get more than one at the same time. This is why we cash checks here. This is absolutely incredible sums of money. And I'm very excited how the viewership of this channel has really stepped up and gotten these sums of money on a daily basis. Let's go more into those third stimulus checks. Open that membership newsletter because it's all featured in there. The membership newsletter features the $80,000 of checks. It features the third stimulus and more. Get that membership newsletter comes out. The newsletter goes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Rely on the nonprofits. They do those home repairs and more. And also get those incredible sums of money at issue right now, because the average viewer of the channel is getting $45,000. Don't wait. Get the money right now and apply and pounce Purple Hawks. Don't wait across the board. When we look at the oil situation today, it's dramatically changing by the minute, by the hour. Where are we at the time of this recording? It's very, very fluid, but oil and gasoline is swirling out of control. Going into the weekend, by the evening of March 11th, going into March 12th, Brent crude was at $205, up $1.83 a barrel. The AAA national average on gasoline was swirling higher, of course, 433. It was 411 the week before. And then the situation internationally for oil is very fluid. Let me tell you why the White House has a lot of major issues to deal with in the next coming days. The White House has to deal with the oil situation, has to deal with the energy situation, has to deal with the wheat, and also has to deal with the potential banking situation. And so far, the White House has done nothing about it, domestically, internationally, anywhere. Number one, the White House needs to solve the situation domestically for oil production. I'll feature tonight on that I Stand With Ukraine edition show. The oil production situation involves ramping up production domestically. Americans for Americans, American oil wells for Americans. Only 3% of our gasoline comes from Russia. Most of it is otherwise pumped here or imported. But it's a little bit more complicated than that. Number one, the producers of the gasoline need guidance directly from the White House. On day one of this invasion, I had told you that they were asking for that guidance. They didn't have it. The week ended with Jennifer Granholm, the Energy Secretary to Joe Biden, pivoting, saying, yeah, of course we want to increase production. Want to and asking for it is two different things. The White House, at the time of this recording on a Saturday, March 12th, has still not asked West Texas to increase production. They say they like the idea, but they haven't asked for it. Let's make very clear, that's very different. Until you actually instruct West Texas to increase production, then you don't have an increase in production. And until you do it, we don't have a situation solved domestically. Number two, a new report, which will be featured on Evenings LA tonight, suggests that it may not be the West Texas part of the equation that needs to be done. It may be the Gulf of Mexico, the coastal region of Texas that needs to ramp up production. Why? Because the West Texas gasoline in a new report suggests is not compatible with our gas pumps. It's not refinery ready. And that the only ones that are refinery ready to swap out for Russia are along the Gulf of Mexico, and that is the Gulf Coast of Texas. Those are the most inherent replacement for Middle East, Russian, Canadian oil. Again, Canada is one of our major importers for oil across the board. Number two, the ramping up this production can be done really quickly. But even if you ramped up the production or got the stockpile oil released from those Texas oil producers, it takes a little bit of time. And we're running out of time. I had told you this needs to be done by May. If you don't get it done by May, and you're $5 a gallon nationwide or at $4.33 as we are this week, it's unsustainable. We go into recession for 2 years. It's too late to fix the situation in May. It needs to be fixed right now. The bigger issue is those partner allies. Those partner allies need to have their gasoline situation fixed, because the way our economy works is we're dependent on the stability of our partner allied countries, their economies, like Germany, Italy, and France. If their economies go into recession, we go into recession. We can have a perfect environment for us domestically, a perfect environment for our oil domestically, but if our partner allies go under, we go under. And so that's why the White House has failed to do this situation as well, has failed to get those partner allies onto another oil production source. What are the options? And what has the White House pursued and not pursued? The options are featured tonight's evening's LA broadcast in prime time, that 1 hour special broadcast. Venezuela, Iraq, Iran, and other partner countries, potentially like India or Japan. What has the White House done and not done? At the time of this recording, it hasn't gotten the deal done. Why not? I'll have the answer for you tonight on Evenings LA. Meantime, when we look at the situation for wheat and grain, this is a very more problematic situation because the wheat and grain that's grown in the Black Sea region of Ukraine is disrupted. It can't be harvested because the people who normally harvest it are now fighting a war. And because they're fighting a war, they're not preparing the soil for next season or the season after that. And because of that, the shortage of grain, wheat, and soybeans is surging our prices at home. Yes, we grow wheat here, but if there's a shortage for our partner countries overseas, the shortage impacts our prices at home. Same situation as oil. There's a problem that could go on for years to come, and that's why six stimulus is happening. Finally, the banking industry. What is the concern about the banking industry? The concern is that their exposure to those Russian investments may be larger than we thought, and that merely closing their offices is not what we're worried about. What we're worried about is their exposure to those investments. And I would hope that Jay Powell gives us a little bit of clearance about this at the FOMC meeting in March. He doesn't have to, but he may give us a little bit of insight if that is a major risk that we do not assess. Remember, this is why this is all very, very scary economic news. Number one, inflation is just the result of post-COVID supply chain issues. Inflation can be fixed by raising interest rates. Recession and preventing the onset of recession is very hard to block if you do nothing. If you do nothing, then recession comes. Doing nothing means not dealing with the situation of oil with partner countries like UAE, not dealing with the situation of wheats like partner countries like France and Germany, not dealing with the situation with Russian exposure to banking industry elements in the United States. If none of these situations are addressed domestically, then we go into recession. And no matter how many $80,000 checks I can get you, I can't keep you out of recession. I can only do so much. The person who keeps you out of recession is not LALATE, is not Jay Powell, it's Joe Biden. He's the only guy who can keep you out of recession because it's his job to get those economic alliances for our partner countries. That's the job of economic diplomacy. On the plane, or Janet Yellen on the plane, overseas, getting a deal with OPEC Plus, getting a deal with Venezuela. That is the job of the White House. It's not the job of the Congress. It's not the job of Jay Powell. It's not the job of Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer. It's only the job of Joe Biden. The executive branch is empowered with the ability to do this, and only the executive branch. And that is why it needs to be done right now. And boy, folks, if it's not done by May, I may have to change the plants in the set. With that, join me next on Evenings LA. It heats up in prime time at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Central Standard Time. It's a major recording you don't want to miss because as we go in further to days into this war, Ukraine versus Russia, we see the war of economics with Vladimir Putin not getting a pivot from the White House. Could the pivot come this week? And why the pivot needs to come? Of all those details and more as a big Evenings LA heats up. Again, that is our special broadcast in prime time at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time tonight. You do not want to miss it. It has become the most watched show in prime time for financial news. With that, I encourage you to stay positive, stay focused, and stay motivated. Get those applications on file for all these incredible checks. Become a member and learn about how to get these applications on file and go right into the application portal and get all those big other sums of money like third stimulus. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.